Thanks for tuning in to the channel. It's finally time to do something with the engine for the Budget AMC Drag Car. My AMC 390 that will eventually make its way into the car has a few things that needs to be done. And we're going to start with that today. Stay tuned. All right, so again, thank you for tuning in. And as you can see, here is the AMC 390 next to the Budget AMC Drag Car, which I still haven't properly named, but Budget AMC Drag Car it is, at least for now. Yes, I have a few things that I kind of need to get done on this engine to kind of keep progressing. I haven't even finished my video as far as video series of putting the suspension back together. As you can clearly see, spoiler alert, it's back together. I'll wait for that video to come out and maybe you could actually see the process and whatever, but spoiler alert, it's back together. Other side, well, not as much. That side I haven't even touched. But anyway, it just, the way that, work schedule goes and other commitments, it's just, it is what it is. I can only get done what I can get done with the amount of allotted time that I have. So it is what it is, but eventually this will get done. But with the kind of the commitments per se, not really commitments, but kind of the plans of how I have things laid out. Right now I kind of want to get the engine torn apart, and I will explain why in a second here. I want to get this done so I can get that, pushed off, so that when I get this done, when this stuff comes back, we're ready to maybe put this in here. So there's kind of a reason for the madness, or a method to the madness per se, if you know what I'm saying. So why, do you ask? Why are we playing with the engine instead of finishing what I started? Well, I'll explain. So this AMC 390 that I got about 2.5 years ago, I got it from a friend of mine. It sat in his shop that he runs for almost, at that time it was 14 years. Or was it 15? It was 15 years at that time. It sat there. He had it rebuilt. He owned a 1969 Scrambler, which is what that came out of. And all 69 Scramblers were 390 4-speed cars. So this would have had a flywheel attached to it. And, well, I never got the flywheel. More on that later. But anyway, pretty much what you see is how I got it, except he actually gave me an original, this is a Torquer intake manifold, and he gave me an R4B. Pretty sure the R4B was actually the original manifold on this particular engine, but I ended up using that on a different car of mine. So then I had to go out and find another intake, and I got this Torquer. Didn't come with this, of course. Didn't come with a water pump. Really, how you see it, minus some of the odds and ends that are sitting on it, is how I got it. And one thing I knew for sure is I was going to be putting that into a car of mine, and I was not going to be mating it up to any manual transmission or a 4-speed or any of that stuff. It was going to be an automatic. Case in point, as I walk over here, this particular automatic, that is a 727 out of a, I believe it was an International, but either way, it's a 72 and up, 72 and newer automatic transmission that I want to pair with this. But if you're already an AMC guy, you'll kind of know the dilemma that's happening here. This is a pre-72 engine. So the back of the crankshaft is very different. So you can't just take this engine and bolt it up to that. It was set up for either a 4-speed transmission or I guess a 3-speed too. Either way, it was set up for a manual transmission or a Borg-Warner automatic if it was going to be an automatic car. Well, he didn't even give me the flywheel, and I asked for it a couple times. He said he'd look. It is what it is. I didn't get a flywheel, so I couldn't really have anything to balance it with. So the dilemma I'm facing is, if I want to use this engine with that transmission, I needed to have a flex plate for an automatic transmission balanced up. And extremely long story short, I had actually purchased an adapter kit, and I don't have it in here at the moment, but my goal was to not open this up. I wanted to just leave it as is, put the adapter kit on it, have a flex plate balanced, and throw it on and stuff it in the car. Well, long story short, it ain't going to work out that way. It's not going to be that simple, unfortunately. Like I said, I really didn't want to open this up. I just didn't want to open the can of worms. But as a nice, kind gesture, actually the guy that I had bought this car from, along with the starter transmission and the used slicks, and he was nice enough to give me a starter pack, per se, if you want to call it that. Well, he let me borrow. Now, it's in this box here. You'll just have to trust me. I don't want to get it down. But there is a flex plate off of a 69, like an Ambassador. So basically it would have had a Borg-Warner transmission, automatic transmission. The only problem with that is when I wanted to go get it balanced to the flex plate that I have for a torque flight, well, nobody can put it on their balancer because the hole in the center of that flex plate, for whatever freaking reason, is really small, and they can't fit it on their balancer. So, long story short, I am going to have to take apart this engine, and I talked to a guy, a rather well-known name in the AMC industry. I am going to take my crankshaft, my harmonic balancer, both of my flex plates, over to him. And actually, I'm going to take him also the pistons, the bearings. He's going to make sure everything is properly balanced. And I was hoping I really didn't have to do that. I was trying to be as budget friendly as I possibly could. But what are you going to do? If they can't balance, nobody can put it on their balance machine. Even he said he didn't think he could put it on his balance machine. So apparently I can give him the whole entire crank itself, and he'll have that on the crank to be able to balance it properly. Either way, it sucks. It kind of is throwing some of the budget out the window. And at the same time, he's going to take the back of my crankshaft and he's going to do whatever procedure, like a proper procedure. I don't know what that entails, but he's going to make it so I can take my torque flight flex plate and put it on there without having the need for this adapter. So that's the route I'm going to be going. That's kind of the long-winded, but also yet short as possible explanation of that. Essentially, I really didn't want to open this up, but I'm going to have to do it anyway. And to get this to mate up properly to my transmission, that is going to be the best way, the best path forward, I believe. So with all that said, I'm going to dive in and try to take this engine apart. And I got to get the crankshaft out of it, pistons, and the connecting rods, harmonic balancer, and of course the 2 flex plates. And I'm going to be hopefully delivering that to him. Hopefully, again, that's a big key word in this weekend. So it's kind of rushed, kind of all conglomerated together, really fast happening, but it's got to get done. And really, when it comes down to it, I haven't been in too many engines. So this will be a first, not really a first, but it'll be, well, it's definitely a first for me when it comes to these AMC V8s. you know, mainly a 6-cylinder guy. Pretty much every engine I've taken apart has either been an AMC 6-cylinder, or that one time I was in shop class, we tore apart a 4-cylinder out of a Chevy Cavalier. So, I mean, definitely not a Chevy Cavalier engine. A little more intricate, a little more detailed, and might I say, definitely more rarer. Definitely more rare. So, a little bit of nervousness coming up, but I think we'll just go through it little by little. And if you want to follow along, we're going to go through it together. So, with all that said, that's the engine, that's the idea, that's the plan. Budget drag car is still sitting here. Half of the suspension has gone through. Nothing else has changed. Still got the seat in here. Still a blank canvas. I think maybe I don't know if I told you guys, I painted this. Woohoo! One thing done. But now as far as what I'm going to be concentrating on, that. So let's get at it. Here we go. Well, this is definitely going to be a little bit of a learning experience for me. And I really appreciate you guys kind of wanting to, well, come along for the ride, I guess, is the proper way to put it. Never claim to say I know really everything. I really obviously don't. I know a decent bit about AMCs and stuff like that, but never really dived into the engines and that much. Because, I mean, it really interests me, just never really dove into some of this stuff. So we'll remove that. Come down and get the, and this stuff I wasn't going to let this, like, for instance, I didn't even put any lube on here. I basically put it in here just to kind of get an idea. Just kind of see the engine at least somewhat together, you know, before, you know, my plan was to really just, you know, lube everything up the best I could, run a drill down through here, prime the oiling system, and fire her up. But, as I said before, that wasn't going to happen. Okay, get the intake manifold off. Just had a couple bolts holding that on. So this is the oil valley here, and someone has already done the oiling modification. There's this big thought out there that if you tap into the oil, I think it's a galley right here, and you run a line over here, you'll help provide better oil flow to these lifters over here that sometimes get starved, because how I understand it, how the oiling system works, this is one of the last things to get oil. And the common thought is if you can at least get some oil fresh right away up over here, these will last a lot longer. So that's the big idea. A lot of guys swear by it, and a lot of guys say that is the dumbest thing in the world you could possibly do. So, I have no idea what is right about that, who's right, but all I know is this motor already has it, and we're going to leave her. When I first got this engine 3 years ago, yes, it was sitting for 15 years, and there was a decent little bit of, you know, not crazy amounts of surface rust, but you can kind of look in here. There is a little bit of some rust. It's not crazy, just ever so slightly. And the engine was actually partially stuck. I had to put some Croil in the cylinders, and it didn't take much to get free. I stuck a bore scope and all here, and it didn't look bad. I mean, I didn't see any obvious signs of pitting or rust. I felt safe about just starting her up, but again, we all know how that went. But it just didn't look like bad at all. And it sat in a climate conditioned shop, so that really helped it. It had bags and all that stuff over it, so it was put away for the most part correctly. All right, so we got the intake off. I think I'm going to work on the front cover here, on the water pump area and so forth. The water pump here is actually a rather expensive unit. I picked it up used from a person that was changing up their car, going a different route, I guess. Not quite sure the whole story, but it's made by Mazir. And yeah, it's rather pricey. It's actually they have like an adapter kit. So this is the adapter, and this basically is their quote unquote generic water pump for like a small block Ford. So how they made it work for an AMC V8 is they basically made this adapter plate, and then their water pump bolts to that plate. So kind of a cool idea. And then for what I paid for it, and for the what I'm going to be doing here, I really enjoyed this idea of getting a really nice water pump. And I mean, even if it's been used quite a bit, I mean, for what I paid for it, I ain't even worried. This is the adapter plate that I was talking about here. Slight change of plan. I think I'm actually going to remove the heads first and then probably flip it over and do the oil pan. And with the head off, we can kind of get a poke around in here. And really pretty good from what I can see and what I care to see. Definitely for me spraying Croil in here, kind of left this interesting little goop behind. Got a little bit of a puddle in here of Croil. When I first got the engine, it was ever so slightly stuck. So I had to come in here and I sprayed Croil. And I mean, it wasn't like crazy stuck. Must have been just an ever so slight ring ridge, which I don't see, but yeah, maybe there's a little bit there. But anyway, it was slightly stuck. Didn't take very much to get it unstuck. But yeah, it's pretty dry in here. So it's probably pretty good. This thing's been sitting for, wow, 16 years now. So it definitely was probably in need of a freshening before actually firing, because it was sitting for so long. And because the other side came apart a little bit slower, we're going to speed this side up a little bit. I'm getting pretty gosh darn good at those magic tricks. But as we look here, more of the same type of stuff. Got a little bit of fluid of my Croil I sprayed in here back who knows how long ago. But yeah, looking pretty good. So moving on. So my first thoughts looking here, everything looks, well, kind of good. Look at the crankshaft. There was definitely a lot of lubriplate, I believe is what was used here. So probably, you know, had I not had to take this all apart, this probably, you know, would have started up pretty good. A lot of the lubriplate and the lubricants were still well in place. However, I did notice one thing as I took the oil pan off and I looked inside the oil pan. Completely different story, and this is definitely worth mentioning. So I'm a little defeated. The wind is out of my sails, just a little bit, but could be worse. I'll just set this here. I don't know if you can really see this. Yeah, I can't tell if it shows up on camera, but yeah, there's it's just this thing's full of rust. This engine was stored for all them years without any oil, or at least some oil in the pan. You know, nothing was in it, and you can clearly see it suffered. And when I rub my finger through this this rust, it literally just comes right off, and it's like, this is like metal flakes. There's a little chunk of it right there. So had I really put this engine in use and started it up, all of that would have been floating in my oil, going through my bearings and everything, and every nook and cranny, that stuff would have been pumped through, and this engine may or may not have, probably would have destroyed itself. So, unfortunately, found that. Fortunately, found that. So it's kind of a, you know, it's not a double whammy, it's like a double good thing. So unfortunately I found that, but fortunately I found that. You get it. And back over here, I think the next thing, before I start taking caps off, I think I'm going to go back to the timing cover. You can see I had my homemade bolt put back on here, so I could bar it over. That'll come off, and then I think, and I've never removed a timing cover on an AMC before, or excuse me, AMC V8. I know what makes these a little bit funky is this is the oil filter and the pump. You know, this is all part of the timing cover, and as far as I know, and what I think it just pops right off, but we will find out. With the timing cover off, we'll see if we can get the timing chain off. And there we go. Hopefully that's keyed. It is keyed. I like how this is actually marked rear, so that is helpful. I think that will only go on there one way as well. There we go. Ooh, I'm pulling the camshaft out with it there. Oh, you don't want to do that. Okay, so I didn't really record that part there, but it was kind of nerve-wracking, and I didn't really want to have the, well, extra nervousness. So I just kind of used my pry bar gently, and I put pressure on the back of the crankshaft sprocket. At the same time, I would come up here and gently give a little bit of a massage to the camshaft sprocket, and ever so slightly back and forth. I've been able to walk it now out to here. So maybe just maybe, we can get her to come off of here. Like so. And now everything is on the bottom side, or from the bottom side. Unfortunately, I already see my first obstacle, and that is the oil pickup tube. I'm guessing they probably use some type of sealant on the threads. So I can just see it now. I hope I don't damage the tube trying to get that out, but I'll give it a shot. Well, after a little bit of staring, came across an idea as far as my pickup tube. And I did manage to get this broke free, just kind of gave it a good pull, and this is now moving. One thing I did notice, I did a little bit of research, and from what I see, or what I think, I believe there's supposed to be some type of gasket on this. And if there is, well, I don't have it. And also there's supposed to be like a nylon button of sorts, like a 1/4 inch thick, that goes into this hole right here. Everyone's like, you gotta have it. Yeah, I don't see that on mine. I think what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna write down what the length is for the distance of my pickup tube. And I got about 5 inches from this bearing cap. So that's what we'll write down, and that's what we'll go back to when it comes time. Well, and probably now it's time for the part that I'm a little nervous about, and that is, well, popping the pistons out and then taking the crankshaft out. I don't know, I'm just nervous. Just a little nervous, but here we go. All right, no goofy magic tricks. Getting down right to it here. Essentially, as you can see here, everything, caps are off, rods, pistons are out. It's just the crankshaft. Basically, coming down to it, I started looking at what I needed to do. And basically, the more I looked at it, the more, well, you know, being honest, just kind of got a little nervous about it. Kind of getting in there and, you know, it kind of uncharted territory. And essentially, I just put on some fun music, good, relaxing music that will, you know, take the edge off, per se. And I kind of just knocked the pistons out and kind of went to town. A little stressful, you know, diving into this thing. Never really been this far, really, into, you know, an AMC engine, per se, I guess. So I just wanted to make sure I took my time, I studied everything, and I did it right. So anyway, this is pretty much all disassembled. Just gotta take the crankshaft out, and it's almost ready. So I think that's where we're gonna start shutting this video down. Put her to a close. Put her towards the end. It's counting down. That's what I'm saying. Yep, there it is behind me. Everything's apart. Kind of unfortunate situation. In the fact that I really didn't want to open this engine up, you know, to stay with the budget theme that I was really trying to go with. You know, I bought the engine already rebuilt, you know, like I said, 15, 16, 17, whatever. It's been years ago that it's been rebuilt. And, you know, a lot of people I talk to, oh yeah, no problem. Yeah, just run it the way it is. Make sure you lube it up real good with, run the oil pump a little bit, you know, prime it before you fire it up. Yeah, probably it probably would have worked, but unfortunately, what we saw in that oil pan, which is I'm pointing this way because it's over here. There's a mess of parts on my bench, right there, all from the engine. So that's why I'm pointing over here. But yeah, we saw that oil pan. Unfortunately, that is what it is. I'm not quite sure what I'm going to do about that yet. Either going to put like some rust cutter or crud cutter or whatever that stuff is that, you know, dissolves rust, sand it. I mean, it's under the baffle, which kind of sucks. But I might ask a opinion on for the guy that I'm taking, you know, the crankshaft to, you know, to get the flex plates balanced and so forth. I might even ask what he thinks about that. Maybe I'll even bring it to him. I don't know. But yeah, that is where we're at, and the engine is now completely disassembled. I'm sitting in a chair because that was quite stressful, if I must say so myself. Really, I've just never been this far into an AMC V8. Literally, not really many engines this far either. Never really needed to, so it was quite the learning experience. And like I said, I had to put on some good stress-free music. And now I'm sitting in my chair with just, I kind of got the Detroit lean going back, just kind of relaxing a little bit, you know? So anyway, that's going to do it for this video. I greatly appreciate everyone watching and following along, tagging along. Means a lot. So anyway, we'll catch you on the next video. And hopefully soon I'll be able to get back working on, you know, the car itself. But the engine had to get torn apart because I kind of had some commitments that I kind of told the guy I'm bringing it by and whatever. And I got to get going with this stuff because it's freaking March, just about March already. So I think it is March. Yeah, it is March today. But anyway, we'll see you guys on the next one. Well, AMC you later.